Well, my friends, it's time. It's time. Bruins opening puck drop is in less than 48 hours, and today, 5 o'clock, was the last point in which teams could make roster cuts. I'm sorry for my extremely red eyes. I am exhausted. I am tired. Excuse me. So the Bruins opening night roster is looking like it exists. This is certainly a team that exists. Let's just get into it. So, according to Connor Ryan, who has been covering the Bruins at Boston for the Boston Globe, so he is very accredited. These are what the Bruins lines are going to look like starting on Wednesday. The top line: James Van Riemsdyk, Pavel Zacha, David Pastrnak. Second line: Brad Marchand, Charlie Coyle, Jake DeBrusk. Third line: Trent Frederick, Matt Patra, Morgan Geekie. And the fourth line: Milan Lucic, Johnny Beecher, and Jacob Lauko, with Danton Heinen as a reserve. Now, defensive pairings. Top pairing: Matt Grzelcyk, Charlie McAvoy. Standard stuff. Second pairing: Hampus Lindholm and Brandon Carlo. Third line is going to be Derek Forbort and Kevin Shattenkirk. Mason Lohrei was assigned to the Providence Bruins earlier today. And our two goalies are Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman. Now you may have heard a distinct lack of AJ Greer there. Unfortunately, AJ Greer was dropped to waivers today. Calgary picked him up, and it was a little bit emotional for people around here, especially for AJ Greer himself. AJ Greer had actually said that he grew up with a distinct love for watching Milan Lucic. And for him to be dropped to waivers because his job was taken by Milan Lucic, it's poignant, I guess, is the for lack of a better word, it's poignant. And but this is what our roster is going to look like come Wednesday. It's the best roster that we were going to assemble. It's the best roster that we were going to assemble with the parts that we had. Honestly, this is pretty close to what I expected. Given how everybody's preseason shook out, this is what I expected. Now, the one thing that I was a little bit concerned with was, were we going to have Patrick Brown on our fourth line and drop Beecher to the not to waivers, but to the AHL? I am so thrilled that we did not do that. That would have been disgusting. I would have hated that. I would have never forgiven Don Sweeney and Cam Neely for that. I already do not forgive them for a lot of stuff, but I would not forgive them for that. And I would have also hated the Jacobs family a lot more than I already do. But in terms of this roster, I like it. JVR on the top line is interesting. It's interesting But at the same time, do we really even? But at the same time, do we even really have left wing depth? Like realistically, we do not really have. We don't have much depth on that. We do not have much depth on the. We do not have much depth for the on the left pair, on the left wing. Like we will eventually get Fabian Lysell, Georgi Merkulov, and we will eventually get both of those guys is up in Boston this year. People were down on Lysell for having a bad preseason. Look, guys, it's the preseason. Don't put too much stock. Obviously, put stock into it in terms of how good our prospects look. But just because Lori didn't have a supposedly impressive enough preseason, and just because Lysell and Merkulov admittedly did not really have great preseasons, that doesn't mean that they're dead. Lysell was drafted 2 years ago, guys. Calm down. Hold on. I know that, although I can't really get mad at people for, I can sort of understand why people are a little bit down on this team because these prospects have not didn't blow the freaking doors off the preseason, because what was the last time that we really saw a lot of prospects come up? It was around 2016, 2017. We saw DeBrusque, we saw Carlo, we saw McAvoy, we saw all three of those guys come up. A new era for Bruins young players. And then from there, we've seen very few players from our prospect pool make it up. Like the last two that really did anything, that have really done anything, have been Frederick and Swayman, and that's really it. Those are the only three. Lauko, you could possibly say, but at the same time, he only played like a quarter of the games last season. That was the first time that he played in Boston. Lauko, I expect him to take at least a few steps forward this season. I think that honestly he can. Lauko, I feel, could eventually make a push for the middle six this season. But in terms of Lysell and in terms of Merkulov, they're going to come up at some point this season. And I don't necessarily think that when they come up, they're going to get sent back down. They're probably going to, because this team can only, because in a centennial season, this team can only bench Milan Lucic for so long before Charlie Jacobs' nostalgia boner grows flaccid. But in terms of this team and the actual makeup of it, having Lysell and Merkulov eventually make their way up to the bigs, I think that they can make a push. I feel like with how terrible our left wing depth is right now, who knows? We could you imagine? Because I can imagine Lysell eventually getting top line minutes. Like, could you imagine Lysell, a line of Lysell, Zacha, Pasternak? Oh my God, just mwah. I was floating the concept of let's rebuild let's make a newfound Czech line. Have Zacha as the center to Lauko and Pasternak. That would be interesting. It would be interesting to see if Lauko could potentially, have some sort of scoring touch. I mean, it took him a little bit to get his first goal. I think the first goal that he ever actually scored, it came a few games in like at least double digits. And I think it was actually in that game where Pittsburgh blew like a 3-goal lead against us, and that was like only the second time that we had actually come back from a 3-goal lead since 2013. I don't know. That was fun. It was fun, and all I ask for Lauko is that, unfortunately, Uncle Nick's not here. Maybe your second cousin in Milan can help you out a little bit. Anyway, where was I? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Patra. Patra was essentially the Gretzky of of our preseason. He was the guy that we were looking like, yeah, he can make it. There is speculation that he only gets a 9-game call up and then he's sent elsewhere for the rest of the season. People have been speculating a little bit of time down in Prague, and then maybe the rest of the time in the O. Well, but with how good Patra is I feel like this 9-game stretch is going to be sort of a make or break for him as to whether or not it's more than 9 games that he stays up here for this season. Because I could possibly see Patra as our permanent third-line center. I could see that being his role. If he kind of stumbles, I can see this 9-game stretch being like we got a decent look at what he brings to the table. Let's send him down and let him gain a few pounds, because I mean the dude is like 3 inches taller than Marchand, and Marchand has like 5 pounds on him. That's not really great. That's you're in twig material there. But at the same time, but in any case, you sent Patra down, let him gain a few pounds, let him gain a little bit more experience, and put Geeky at your 3C, and either move Lauko up to the 3 and have Heinen on the 4, or you do the other way around. You move Heinen up to the 3 and keep Lauko at the 4. I think honestly, either way is good. Well, I think Lauko and Heinen are kind of interchangeable at right wing, and if Patra kind of needs a little, if we look at Patra and say he kind of needs a little bit more time, it's not the end of the world. We still have. He's only 19. He is 19. This kid is younger than I am by 2 years. He's 2 years younger than I am, and he's gonna be back. Lysell, he's gonna be in. Merkulov, he's gonna be in. Lorai, he's gonna be in. And I don't like how Lorai did not crack the team over Forbort, though. I also do not like how Jacob Zaboral did not crack the team over Forbort. I think honestly, at this point, Zaboral's chances of being like a permanent NHL defenseman, they are very, very slim. And he's had enough time. That dude is 26 years old. Well, he needed to shit or get off the pot, and he did not do and he decided to get off the pot. He did not. He did not do what he needed to do. And as a result, if I'm not mistaken, he is going down to the AHL, where barring emergency call-up, where barring call-ups that due to injuries or potential trades, he is probably going to be there. He is probably going to be there for the rest of the season. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. Because we tried to make him work. We tried to make him work. Because, god damn it, we needed something from 2015 to actually stick. Sure we had DeBrusque, and sure we had Carlo, but god damn it, we needed something to work. And he just didn't. He didn't do what he needed to do. And he is rightfully down in the AHL. Now, predictions for this season. This team is not going to be as good as it was last season. This team is also still going to be good. Let's not mince words. They are not going to be the 65 win team that we saw last season, but they are not going to fall off into obscurity. I think honestly, for what we have now, well, we're starting to realize that I feel like right now is when a lot of the people in this fan base should realize that center depth is a little bit iffy. It's not as big of a problem as left wing depth. Because, oh boy. And what do we... but in terms of... but that... sorry. But that's a problem for another time. That's a problem for another time. For right now, let's look at what this team could potentially do this season. I was on Townie Sports last week on Thursday. Great show, and I thank them so much for having me on. And I hope to be back on at some point. But I was on Townie Sports, and I suggested that this team was going to win somewhere between 45 and 50 wins. And I think that's a decent prediction. Again, not President's Trophy winning by any stretch of the imagination. Not top of the division. And I don't even think second in the division. And maybe third, but the Atlantic is going to be very, very cutthroat. I think that this team ceiling is second round exit. I think honestly, I think the Bruins are a second round exit team at their best right now. Well, I don't think. Now I know we were saying second round exit last season was our eventual topping out, but I mean, hey, we won 65 wins, and then we lost in the first round. And you know what? That first round loss, honestly, I'm kind of over it. I've sort of just compartmentalized it. Like, yes, it happened. We need to look to the future. And in what better time than now? And I realized that I did not make a video about the passing of captaincy on to Brad Marchand. And I think now is a decent time to talk about that. So, Brad Marchand named captain. This is a great move. This is a fantastic move. Yes, he has a reputation that kind of precedes him. But, consider this. Brad Marchand is one of the hardest working players in the NHL right now. He is one of the hardest working players in the NHL. You cannot say at all that he takes any shift off. You can say that about every other team, every other player in the NHL. You could even say that about freaking Connor McDavid. You could say there are shifts where he looks gassed and he's not really into it. Marchand will haul ass before his leg even thinks about ponying over that wall. And so what better message to send to the young prospects than, if you want to wear this crest with pride and with dignity, if you want to wear this crest and have it mean something to you, then you need to put in as much effort as Brad Marchand. You need to have the drive, and the hunger, and the work ethic as Brad Marchand. And it is a fantastic continuation of the culture that we brought to this that was brought to this city by Zdeno Chara, and was continued by and was helped to and whose cultivation was helped by Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, and also by Brad Marchand. This is a tremendous passing of the torch, and I know a lot of people were thinking that McAvoy was going to get it. It'd be a decent way to like officially usher in a new era of Bruins hockey, and to some extent I can agree with that. I initially thought that was going to be what we were doing, but it's okay that we're not doing that. It's okay that we're not doing that, because as much as I love McAvoy, and as much as I think that he's ready for the captaincy, I think sending a message to the young, sending a message to everybody in this locker room, not just the young guys, even though we're in a season where we could see anywhere from like 5 to 7 young players make their debut this season. We're probably already seeing 2 of them this. We're most likely seeing 2 of them make their debut on Wednesday night. We might see more of them. We're probably seeing Lori. We're probably seeing Forbort. We're probably seeing not Forbort. We're probably seeing Lysell. We're probably seeing we're probably seeing more, and we're probably seeing more of them. We're probably seeing Lori. We're probably seeing Lysell. We're probably seeing Markelov. We might even see Toporowski. We might even see Busey. We might see 7 young guys make their debut this season. And what better message than that? You need to put in the work ethic. You need to match this guy's work ethic if you want to wear this crest. Yes. No days off. No days off. No shifts off. Doesn't matter if you're being paid $8 million or $800,000. You need to put in this. You need to be on this level, and that honestly is a beautiful thing. And that's probably where I end it. That's probably where I end it for right now. I will see you guys on Wednesday, where we will begin the 3rd season of Into the Den and the 100th season of Bruins hockey. Take care.